Hey folks, RiggerM71 here. Roughly 10 years ago, I recall watching a trailer for a horror-themed action-adventure game that looked very interesting. Unfortunately, due to the fact the game was initially only released for Xbox 360, a system I didn't own, meant that I would have to wait in order to play it. Fast forward a couple more years and the game was eventually released for PC, however, due to various circumstances, I never got around to looking at it again. It didn't help that the game even disappeared from Steam due to some licensing issues, basically postponing my ability to play it even more. However, recently it seems they were able to get everything sorted out, and the game is now available for purchase once again. So, let's take a look at Alan Wake from Remedy Entertainment. Finally. In Alan Wake, you play as a character, not surprisingly, named Alan Wake, who is a famous writer of psychological thrillers. You and your wife Alice have traveled to a small mountain town called Bright Falls for what's intended as a short vacation. It's also supposed to be an opportunity to recharge your creative batteries and hopefully overcome the writer's block you've been having. The vacation is cut short when Alice is kidnapped. At that point, things start to get weird. You quickly discover that a supernatural darkness is stalking you. It's able to possess objects as well as the citizens of Bright Falls in an effort to prevent you from locating your wife. These people are known as the Taken, and fighting them off using a unique combination of light and weaponry comprises the majority of the combat in Alan Wake. So as you progress through the game's 6 episodes, flashlights, flares, and environmental lighting become just as important as guns when dealing with the Taken. Speaking of the combat, I did have a few issues with it, specifically the situation with keyboard and mouse. At certain points in the game, it seemed the controls were either really slow or completely unresponsive, a problem that resulted in my untimely death on more than a few occasions. I do realize the guy is supposed to be a simple writer of fiction and not Rambo, but at the same time I don't feel it's asking too much for him to run when I press the corresponding key for run. There is the fact that the game was originally designed for console, so it's possible a controller would have worked better here. I just never got around to trying one. In any case, it was only a rare problem, and even when it was, it never ended up making the game unplayable, just occasionally annoying. Still, I thought it was worth mentioning. Aside from that, I had no other technical problems with the game. While it is a slightly older title, the game still looks graphically impressive and should run just fine using high settings, even on a modest system. If you're a budget gaming enthusiast with a potato for a PC, this would be a good choice if you've never had the opportunity to play the thing, especially if you're looking for a good single-player, horror-themed experience. It actually reminds me a lot of Max Payne, an earlier Remedy title. Granted, the narrative and general setting is very different, but the third-person camera, certain story elements, and the action cues are very similar. Even the tiny details have a similarity. For instance, there are televisions in the game that can be used to watch a TV show called Night Springs, a sort of parody of the Twilight Zone. I recall Max Payne having similar televisions spread throughout the game, although much more basic due to graphical limitations of the time. At any rate, it's easy to see the development formula at work in Alan Wake, and it's a formula that works well. The story and characters are really solid, and it makes you want to keep playing in order to see how it all ends, even in spite of the occasional quirky combat mechanic. So if you enjoyed Max Payne, I think the chances are good you'll enjoy this as well. At this very moment, the game is currently about $15 on Steam, as well as GOG.com, but it generally drops under $10 whenever there's a sale. It's definitely worth that, and it could be argued that it's even worth full price if you simply don't feel like waiting. I'm assuming it won't disappear again, but you never know with these types of things. And with that in mind, I think that about sums up this somewhat short, but hopefully informative review. If you found any of it helpful, don't be shy about giving it a like or even subscribing to the channel. And as usual, you can also leave a comment below if you have something to add. That being said, please take care, and of course, have fun.